You are sitting in a meeting. Nothing is wrong. No one is angry. No one is threatening you. But something in your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. Your eyes keep flicking to the door. And somewhere deep in your body, a very old alarm system has decided that you are in danger. You are not in danger, but your brain does not know that. And the reason why reaches back further than civilization, further than language, further than the first fire ever lit by human hands. The reason is a predator that no longer exists, and the ghost of that predator is still running your nervous system right now. Here is what your brain actually is. It is not a rational machine that occasionally makes mistakes. It is a survival engine built across hundreds of millions of years that has been asked, very recently, to sit quietly in an office and send emails. The mismatch between what your brain was built to do and what you are actually asking it to do is responsible for a staggering amount of modern suffering. Anxiety, insomnia, the inability to stop scrolling, the feeling that something bad is coming, even when everything is fine. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping what he called the brain's fear circuitry. What he found was not a single system, but a layered architecture, each layer older than the last, each one capable of triggering a full-body threat response before your conscious mind has any idea what is happening. The part of your brain that processes fear acts faster than the part that thinks. That gap, that tiny window of pure reaction before thought catches up, is where most of your anxiety lives. And it was not a design flaw, it was the whole point. Go back 2 million years. Your ancestors, the genus Homo, were not the dominant species on the African savanna. They were prey. They were hunted by large cats, by crocodiles, by hyenas, by eagles large enough to carry a small child. Anthropologist Lee Berger's analysis of early Homo fossils found talon marks from predatory birds and tooth marks from big cats on the bones. These were not creatures at the top of the food chain. They were somewhere in the middle, and they survived by being exquisitely, almost neurotically alert. The brain that developed under those conditions was not trying to be happy. It was trying to notice the rustle in the grass before the rustle became a leopard. It was trying to feel uneasy in open spaces where there was no cover. It was trying to wake up slightly panicked in the dark, because the dark was when the ambush predators came. Every single reflex that now makes modern life feel exhausting was once a survival tool calibrated for an environment that could kill you at any moment from any direction. You still have that brain. Nothing has replaced it. Evolution does not discard old hardware. It builds on top of it. What you have is a modern prefrontal cortex layered over an ancient threat detection system. The prefrontal cortex is the part of you that reads, plans, reasons, and understands that a presentation to your manager cannot physically harm you. But underneath it, the amygdala, that almond-shaped structure buried deep in your temporal lobe, is running a completely different calculation. It is scanning for danger. It is asking every few seconds whether you are safe. And it has a very low threshold for deciding that you are not. Psychologist Paul Gilbert, who developed compassion-focused therapy, describes what he calls the threat system as the brain's most dominant default mode. When uncertain, the brain defaults to threat. When tired, the brain defaults to threat. When socially evaluated, when physically exposed, when in an unfamiliar place, the brain defaults to threat. Not because you are broken, because for most of human history, a brain that defaulted to threat stayed alive. The specific triggers have just not updated. Your amygdala cannot tell the difference between a predator and a social rejection. It processes both as existential threats. Losing a job and being separated from your tribe register in overlapping neural circuits. Standing at a podium in front of an audience activates the same ancient exposure reflex that made open savanna feel dangerous. Being left on red by someone you care about produces a cortisol spike that once helped your ancestors survive actual abandonment in an actual hostile landscape. This is not metaphor. It is biology. Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA ran a series of experiments using a simple computer game called Cyberball, in which participants were made to feel socially excluded by two other players. Their brains were scanned while it happened. The regions that activated during social exclusion were the same regions that activate during physical pain. Your brain codes being left out as being hurt because being left out of the group 2 million years ago was a death sentence. Your threat system cannot update its references. It cannot read the news and conclude that social rejection, while painful, is survivable. It cannot process the fact that the darkness outside your window is not full of predators. It runs on older logic, deeper logic, the logic of a creature that was hunted. And so you lie awake. You rehearse arguments that will never happen. You feel your heart rate climb during a phone call you need to make. You feel watched in an empty room. You feel dread on a Sunday evening that has no rational source. You jump at a sound in another room. You feel vaguely guilty even when you have done nothing wrong. These are not personality defects. These are the calling cards of an ancient nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do in a world that no longer requires it. The hypervigilance that helped your ancestors survive is now scanning a world of emails and traffic jams for the signal that extinction is coming. What makes this especially strange is how good the system is at hiding itself. You are rarely aware of the threat calculation happening beneath your thoughts. You do not feel your amygdala fire. You do not observe the cortisol entering your bloodstream. You just feel the output. A vague unease, a tension in the shoulders, a compulsion to check your phone, the sense that you have forgotten something important. You move through your day managing the effects of a system whose operations are entirely invisible to you, driven by fears that are millions of years old. Research by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio revealed what he called somatic markers, the body's way of encoding emotional and threat-related experiences as physical sensations. Your gut feeling is not a metaphor. It is your brain using your body as a threat processing system, reading signals from your organs, your heart rate, your posture, and translating them into a felt sense of safe or not safe. When something feels wrong, your body knew first. The ancient brain and the modern body are still running the same circuit together, just in a world that looks completely different from the one that built them. There is something almost tender about this. When you sit with it, your anxiety is not a malfunction. Your sleeplessness is not weakness. Your social dread is not irrational. These are the signatures of a brain that was forged in genuine danger and that has not yet received the message that the danger has passed. It has kept you running. It has kept your ancestors running through ice ages and predators and plagues and collapses, generation after generation, until eventually it produced you, sitting here, in a room that is warm and quiet and safe. And it is still watching the door. The leopard is not outside, but some part of you is still listening for it. And the next time your chest tightens for no reason in a perfectly ordinary moment, consider that you might be hearing an echo. A very old warning system sending a very old signal, still faithfully doing its job in a world the predator never reached. Tonight, when you lie awake for no reason you can name, you will be doing something your ancestors did. Staying alert, staying ready, surviving a danger that has not existed for 10,000 years. The brain that built civilization is still trying to outrun a leopard in the dark.